So today I would like to share some of my thoughts on Tamil lexicography, and that is uh, more or less in line with the with my role in the project at the University of Hamburg, which is developing a corpus-based dictionary of classical Tamil now. So my presentation today is more linguistic and lexicographical. So, and yes, I would like to talk about oh yeah to talk about one noun formation model which is rare and basically at least to my knowledge it has never been described before as a model, so probably it was not described because it has only 6 words. At least I could find only 6 words that actually fit into this model. I call it pleonastic noun formation model because it represents combination of two morphological tools, that is the verbal root with short close vowel, and we have vowel lengthening in this verbal root, and then suffix e is attached to this. So we have basically two morphological tools here: vowel lengthening and attaching suffix e, and each of them would be sufficient for forming a noun from a verbal root. And that is why I call it pleonastic, because we have somehow redundant morphological method here. And basically, we have in Tamil and in other Dravidian languages, we have many examples of grammatical pleonasm. For instance, like in modern Tamil, plural forms of the verb like செய்வார்கள் would mean that R is already a plural suffix, and we add another plural suffix to this, so it is somehow redundant, and this is exactly what is often called grammatical pleonasm. So the 6 words that we have here are of different importance and of different periods of Tamil language. One is uni, which means one who eats, from the verbal root un, to eat. And it has earliest attestation in 15th century in a poem by Arunagirinadan. And actually, it is almost the only attestation in classical Tamil. Shiva is called Kalam Vidam Uni, eater of the black poison. And that's it. Another one is tini, from the verbal root to eat, mostly of animals, and that mostly means food for animals. And I think this word is very familiar to modern Tamil speakers, but it actually appears very late in the language, like in 19th and 20th century Tamil. So it will be a little bit out of scope of my presentation. Next one is a very interesting word, anji, from the root anju, to fear, which roughly means fearful act. And it is mentioned in Tolkapiam in its chapter Puratine Il on the Puram poetry. And then the second attestation is in Pura Purulven Bamali, a poetical treatise of from 9th century. So I will deal with it in more detail a little bit later. So one more interesting word is koli, from the verb to take, call, meaning take a recipient. In grammatical, as a grammatical terms, this can also be a dative case, as a case for the indirect object. And one more interesting meaning, according to Tamil lexicon, tree which bears fruit without blossoming. I will discuss this in more detail because this word appears very early and it has 4 occurrences in Sangam corpus and then some more occurrences later on. Some words are of extreme importance, such as kori, which is in modern Tamil is more like a hen, but basically a domestic fowl, and it probably it is probably related to the root koru, to grow fat. So kori is a domestic fowl as something plumpy, something fat. So that's it. And it has more than 20 attestations in Sangam corpus, so it's an important word. And one more word is of extreme importance. That is Tori, which is female companion of a heroine, and sometimes translated as maid also, but this is a little bit controversial. Basically, if I understand it correct, and if my model is correct, and the etymology is correct, then it is related to the word turu, which basically means to worship and also to serve. And also sometimes to do something, to serve. Yeah, that's it. So, and probably this etymology would hint that they had somehow hierarchical relations with the heroine, and that she was basically, well, at some point, at least from this etymological meaning, we could think that probably she was really a maid or a service maid, but this is, yeah, and we have more than 50 attestations, so 500 attestations, which of course means that these occurrences, we can derive the meaning of this word much more from its usage than from its etymology, which is not the case with rare words, of course. Yeah, just to show that the model is really pleonastic. So there are lots of examples how vowel lengthening provides a noun in classical Tamil. For instance, we have word call, a stick, which is from the verbal root call, to kill. So something that is an instrument of killing. Vel, a spear, from vel, to win. So something that brings victory, a spear. So vidu, liberation, from to live. So liberation, moksha, is vidu in Old Tamil, or nadu, from nadu, to plant. So nadu is somehow cultivated land, country, where, for instance, very rare word, but very funny, porcupine, yay, from the verbal root ye, to discharge arrows. So porcupine as an animal which can discharge arrows, basically. Un, eating food, from un, to eat. So that's it. That's one thing, vowel lengthening. Another thing is e attached to the verbal root. So it acts itself. So it does not need vowel lengthening, but we have some examples. For instance, adu, to dance, and adi is a dancer. Sudu, to wear, or sudi is wearer, like in compounds like pire sudi, one who wears moon, or muddy sudi, that is epithets of Shiva. Or Arusudi as wearing Ganga as river, and so on, or Kondre Sudi, one who wears Kondre flowers. Moody, also a word familiar to modern Tamil speakers, lead cover, from mudu, to cover, to close. Poli, equivalent from pol, to resemble. Ari, ocean, from the word ar, to be deep. That's it. And so this is one model. As we see, it is somehow related. It can be related to it can form the adjunct noun, but not really necessarily. Probably we can also suggest that it is somehow connected with the Sanskrit suffix in, but also like in vadin becomes vadi in Tamil. But this is a little bit speculative. But what is important is that suffix is not necessarily feminative. But when e is added to a non-verbal noun, to the non-verbal root, to nominal root, it is more often seen as a feminative suffix. For instance, viral, victory, and virally is a type of female dancers, probably bringing victory or somehow associated with victory. Kutu, dance, and kuti is a female dancer as opposed to kutan, who is a male dancer, because an is a masculine suffix, or mami, maternal uncle's wife, as opposed to maman, maternal uncle, or manaki, which is actually a Sanskrit loanword, but here it's important that it is a feminative suffix. So basically, e can be both an adjunct noun suffix and a feminative suffix, but mostly in cases when it is attached to the nominal root. So, and here are two words which I would like to concentrate on. One of them is Anji, another one will be Koli. So Anji is actually almost a hapax. It appears only in grammatical literature. and listed among the sub-themes of Ture of the Kanji Tinane Puram literature. So Kanji is a theme of poetry somehow related with impermanence of the world, of life, and also related to lamentations at the battlefield. So according to Tamil lexicon, which is a standard dictionary of classical Tamil, Anji has four meanings. First of them is fear. Second is motion, vibration, idleness, laziness, and dancing. But please pay attention that the last three meanings are quoting nihandas that are pre-modern lexicographical tools, Pingalam, Chudamani, and Aharadi Nihandu. So that is, they are not actually attested in texts. And the first, probably the earliest attestation in Puratineel of Tolkapian, and this passage is somewhat obscure, but I would rather translate it as Anji about the wife who threw herself, if we take pet in this sense, on a spear veiling that killed her departed husband, the husband who has died. This is what we can get from Tolkapian. And in Pura Porul Ven Ba Male, we have actually two examples of what Anji is as a sub-theme of Puran poetry. And in Kilavi to Pura Porul Ven Ba Male 82, Kolu to Pura Porul Ven Ba Male 82, we have a passage that Malibu written, greatness is praised of the woman with soft nature, Melielin, Mother Melielin, who plunges Murum into intense flame, Kane Yere, together with her beloved husband, Kader Kanavanodu. So this is more eloquent, I would say, about what Anji actually is. And if we read the poem which illustrates this motive, it says that when she herself enters the flames, Tanum Yeripuha, together with her husband, Keluodu, who has sustained the wounds. Tangia, we have Puttuvil here, Tangia Pun. And then the wounds caused by the discus, then the army of his enemies is described, and the woman says to her to the crowd of her friends, female companions, that they should go away. Kurei ayam pularha, let them perish. So just I want to die. That's the idea. Yeah. That's it. And this is one example, and there is another example of Anji. And the next poem, Kolu says, even though the wife, Maneyol, renounces her dear life in Uyirnipinum, even if she renounces, by means of a spear that took away the life of her husband, it is still the same sub-theme. It is the same topic today. So here we have a description which is more similar to one of Tolkapian. So the woman is killing herself on the battlefield with the same weapon that killed her husband. And we have a description of the poem, of this situation in the poem as well. Marital fidelity is harsh. So Victoria's warrior died from the acute spear, Viral Viyon, Visiondan, he died. On the blade, actually, of this hot spear. And the same spear becomes Kutru, becomes death. Kutru Aitre, that to the twig, well, this is a word for a woman, with large eyes shining like arrows. So that is the idea. So in earlier, probably we have these development of the meaning. So in earlier attestations in Tolkapium, we had more like description of some kind of suicidal ritual on the battlefield. So the widow kills herself with a spear, and the same is in one of the poems in Pura Porolven Bamale, and in the other attestation, Pura Porolven Bamale, we see that it is more like self-immolation already. So more like sati ritual as we know it from later literature. This means that actually the meaning that, of course, fear or fear, as Tamil lexicon suggests, is a very imprecise meaning for this word. And I would rather describe it as a ritual suicide of the widow after the death of her husband, as a frightening act. Indeed, Anji probably means something like something that frightening act. But of course, from the context, we see that it is basically a ritual suicide of the widow. So another example why it is important to see the etymology of these words is koli, which is, according to Tamil lexicon, could be receiver, dative case, as I mentioned, then banyan, counterfeit, and number 5 is tree-bearing fruit without outwardly blossoming, which is very, fascinating. I mean, what a strange meaning. You would like to read why. And again, we have many references to Nihandus, Sudamani, Pingalam again, and only 2 meanings which are tested in like literature is dative case in Viratorium, which is grammatical treatise, and this tree-bearing fruit without outwardly blossoming. Very interesting. I would like to see what it is. And the references to Pura Perumpanatupade. So one of the Pattu poems. So basically, let's have a look at it. So there are 4 attestations in the early Sangam corpus, and this passage from Perumpanatupade basically describes Kanji and what Kanjipuram, and what we see is that it is Mudur, old city of ancient glory, Paja Viral, so festivals, whatever. It is worshipped by many, Palatoja, in this world of broad space, wrapped in the ocean of that smell, Pulavu Kadel Uduta, and also wearing sky above, probably as a garland or as a chaplet, maybe. And what it is compared to jackfruit, pala, which is praised mikurum for its fruits, pajem. Like a jackfruit among the koli ulu, that have luxuriant tender branches with flocks of mobbing nosy birds on them. So koli, okay, this is a little bit obscure word, and what we have and the reading which influenced the Tamil lexicon is, of course, the reading of the commentary to this passage, the commentary by Nachinar Kinier, very important medieval commentator. And this is his reading, actually. Koliulum is glossed as Huva. Sorry. Puva. Sorry, Puvamal Kaikum Marangalil. Among the trees that bear fruit without blossoming. Marangalil, among the trees, which are Kaikum, Puvamal, without blossoming. So, well, frankly speaking, this is not very convincing because he does not explain why. And this does not necessarily fit this context. I mean, why do we know it? I mean, okay, this is really, really frustrating, actually. And in other contexts, the other 3 contexts provide that Koli becomes an attribute of Banyan. So, for instance, in Malay Padukadam, another Patu poem, we have a passage where Koli Alat is mentioned. So, basically, the kutter, the dancer, is advised, slowly go across the visible wide spaces of the land, where birds with voices like music sing in their nests on the mature Koli banyan tree with many branches. Murangia kulealata, so kind of mature banyan. And here again, we see that it is an attribute of alam. So it's not exactly a banyan, but some kind of more like an attribute of a banyan. If we want to believe Nachinakinivar, again, like it's not blossoming, but bears fruit, which does not make sense to me. And there are two attestations in Purananuru. In Purananuru 58, it is praise of the king, and we know about the king that his ancestors died, and he now is the prop of his clan. And he is compared to a banyan. So he's no, actually to the hanging root, to the aerial root, supporting the long branch that provides dense shade of the Koli banyan, whose entire trunk has died. So it isn't kind of, and we have this word vir here, which is glossed and often interpreted as the same as virido, an aerial root. So and again, we have this Koli alam, a bit weird. But again, nothing to say about fruits of or whatever, or about blossoming. So it's a bit strange. And one more attestation in Purananuru 254, which is a kind of lamentation. So mother is described of the warrior who died on the battlefield. So she is pitiable. What will become of the mother praising him daily without a break, saying, "My son is prosperity and excellence for us, like fertility consumed by the birds of the Koli banyan tree, bearing fruit in front of the village." So we have again Koli alat, which is Munur Parunia, bearing fruit, Munur, in front part of the village. So my suggestion here is, of course, as we see, these nouns are closely connected. Their semantics is closely connected to their etymology. And I think the idea here, since Koli is not likely to be just a banyan, probably describes it as something that performs the act of taking or grasping, seizing, kol. And my suggestion here for these four contexts, although they are very obscure, of course, but I still think that probably it means actually the banyan or aerial side roots of the banyan tree, which resemble hands somehow and resemble hands as grasping something. This could make at least some reasonable interpretation for me, although it is not suggested by the commentary, which actually provides a different reading, and I'm not sure how it can be supported. So my point here is that seeing these nouns as a system and seeing the ways their morphology is organized and seeing the pattern behind this etymologies helps us to understand rare words in a more clear way. Thank you very much for your attention. So this is my reading about Koli. Thank you.